Professor Marcus Chen stood before the quantum containment field, watching the miniature star pulse with barely restrained fury in its magnetic prison. The artificial sun, no larger than his fist, burned at temperatures that would have vaporized entire planets. Its nuclear fires compressed into a space smaller than a marble through humanity's mastery of gravitational manipulation. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. And in 6 hours, it would be deployed against the hegemony's fortress system of Karath Prime. Final calibrations complete, announced Dr. Sarah Okafor from her position at the control matrix. Stellar compression holding at 97% efficiency. Gravitational lens arrays are aligned for maximum dispersal upon detonation. Marcus nodded, his reflection ghost-like in the containment field's shimmering surface. 3 years ago, humanity had been nothing more than a minor species on the galaxy's outer rim, ignored by the major powers, dismissed as technologically primitive, useful only as a source of manual labor for the hegemony's industrial worlds. Then the Karath massacre changed everything. The memory still burned in Marcus's mind. Colony ships full of human civilians vaporized without warning. 200,000 lives extinguished in the span of minutes. The hegemony's justification had been coldly practical. Humans were breeding too quickly, expanding too aggressively, disrupting established trade routes. Culling was necessary for galactic stability. The galaxy had watched in silence. The Centauri Collective issued a formal protest. The Andromedan Empire expressed regret. The Council of Worlds called for a peaceful resolution. But no one acted. Humanity's pain was too small to matter in the grand scheme of galactic politics. They thought we would grieve and submit, Marcus murmured, remembering the words of Admiral Torres from the emergency session 3 years ago. They forgot that humans don't just grieve. We learn, and learn they had. The Karath massacre had unified humanity like nothing in their history. Every colony world, every research station, every hidden outpost had contributed to a single terrible project. The greatest minds of the species had abandoned their previous work to focus on one goal, ensuring that what happened at Karath could never happen again. The breakthrough had come from Dr. Yuki Tanaka's work on stellar mechanics. She'd discovered that stars weren't just massive fusion reactors, they were gravitational resonators, their nuclear fires locked in delicate balance with the fabric of space-time itself. With sufficient knowledge of quantum field dynamics and gravitational manipulation, that balance could be adjusted. Incoming transmission from the fleet, reported Commander Williams. Admiral Torres requests final confirmation on target parameters. Marcus activated the holographic display, showing the Karath system in all its defensive glory. 12 heavily fortified worlds orbited the massive red giant star. Orbital defense platforms numbered in the thousands. The hegemony's third fleet, over 800 capital ships, patrolled the system's boundaries. It was one of the most heavily defended systems in the galaxy, the seat of hegemony military power. In conventional terms, attacking Karath Prime would require the combined fleets of a dozen major species. Even then, casualties would be measured in millions. The hegemony knew this. They'd built their fortress, assuming that no sane species would pay such a price for revenge. They'd failed to account for human ingenuity. Confirm target parameters, Marcus said. Primary star, gravitational resonance frequency, 247.3 terahertz. Stellar mass approximately 2.4 solar masses. Estimated time to cascade failure once the device is deployed, 4 hours, 37 minutes. The number carried weight that no weapon in galactic history had possessed. 4 hours to evacuate 12 worlds and nearly 1 billion hegemony citizens. 4 hours to watch their impregnable fortress system become an expanding sphere of superheated plasma. Marcus. Dr. Okafor's voice was quiet, almost lost in the hum of the containment systems. Are we certain about this? Once we deploy the Starkiller, there's no stopping the chain reaction. The entire system will be gone, Marcus finished, along with everyone who chose to stay. He turned to face his old friend, seeing his own doubts reflected in her eyes. Sarah, they murdered 200,000 civilians to make a point about resource allocation. They turned genocide into an economic decision. What does that say about their respect for life? But the population of Karath Prime alone is 600 million. Who cheered when our colony ships burned, Marcus cut her off. Who celebrated the massacre as necessary pest control. Who voted to classify humans as expendable labor resources in their population census. His voice hardened. They made the rules, Sarah. We're just playing by them. The communication array crackled to life, broadcasting Admiral Torres's voice throughout the facility. All stations, this is Fleet Command. The hegemony has just rejected our final ultimatum. They will not withdraw from the border territories. They will not provide reparations for Karath. They will not acknowledge human sovereignty. A pause. They've left us no choice. Project Starfall is authorized. Marcus placed his hand on the deployment control, feeling the weight of history in the gesture. Humanity was about to cross a line that no species had dared approach. They were about to prove that stars themselves could be weaponized, that entire solar systems could be held hostage with the right technology and sufficient will. Deployment in T-60 seconds, he announced. Across the galaxy, the implications were already spreading. Marcus knew that emergency sessions were convening in every major capital. The Centauri Collective was probably mobilizing their entire fleet. The Andromedan Empire would be calculating whether humanity now posed a greater threat than the hegemony. The smaller species would be choosing sides or fleeing to the galactic rim. None of it mattered. The Karath massacre had taught humanity a fundamental truth. In a galaxy where power was the only currency that mattered, they'd been trading in pocket change. But now, they held the power to crack stars like eggs, to turn suns into weapons, to ensure that no one would ever again dismiss human lives as expendable. 30 seconds to deployment. The Starkiller hummed in its containment field, an artificial sun waiting to teach the galaxy a new definition of terror. Marcus thought of the human children who would grow up in a universe where their species commanded respect through fear rather than diplomacy. It wasn't the future he'd wanted, but it was the future the galaxy had chosen when it stood silent during humanity's darkest hour. 10 seconds. Marcus closed his eyes, seeing the faces of the Karath victims one final time. Children who would never grow up. Parents who would never see their families again. Dreams and hopes and love itself reduced to expanding clouds of ionized gas. Deploy the Starkiller. The device vanished from its containment field, transported instantaneously to the heart of Karath Prime's sun via quantum tunnel. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the stellar resonance readings began to fluctuate. The red giant's fusion core started to destabilize. Gravitational waves rippled outward as the star's internal structure began its carefully calculated collapse. Detonation confirmed, reported Dr. Okafor, her voice hollow. Cascade reaction initiated. Time to stellar collapse, 4 hours, 36 minutes. Marcus opened his eyes to watch the tactical display as panic spread throughout the Karath system. Ships fleeing in all directions. Evacuation transports launching from every world. Emergency broadcasts flooding the communication channels as 12 billion soul civilization tried to escape their dying sun. Some would make it out. Most wouldn't. And every species in the galaxy would learn that humanity was no longer content to be victims. The age of human innocence was over. The age of galactic terror had begun. As Karath Prime's star began its death throes, Marcus whispered the words that would echo through history. We tried peace. You chose war. Now face the consequences. the galaxy would never be the same.